So last round, Sykkuno was imposter. And he was like, you know, you haven't had imposter in a while, Ray. Let's have a killer word and I'll kill for you. And so I went up to John and I was like, babushka! That means grandma in Russian.
What's that? Babushka, babushka.
Oh my god!
Hello everyone, Skippy here, and welcome to One Piece episode 978, directed by Kohei Kureta and supervised by Shuichi Ito and Midori Matsuda. With co-series director Kureta finally busting us with another episode after his exceptionally strong showing all the way back in 954, it looks like the predecessor to the start of the Onigashima raid will be an extremely fun one. With a well-tuned storyboard from what's been teased so far for starters, along with wonderfully solid action animation from the likes of both Masami Mori, Tetsuro Nireki, and quite a bit more when we look at the preview as a whole. With the title of it making it seem like a lot of the action will be expanded upon here, which Kid's new CG arms will definitely help with. Top that off with the promise of solid corrections from both Ito and Matsuda, and I think we're all buckled in for a pretty fun ride of an episode. So will episode 978 be the roller coaster that we all expect it to be? Let's get back to it and find out. This episode covers the first 9 pages of chapter 975 and pretty much becomes its own beast in a lot of ways, turning what was mainly just people talking, which led into a huge combo attack from the worst generation, into a naval sea battle of sorts with almost everybody getting in on the fun themselves as far as action goes, with it also including some nice downtime explanations for how the Straw Hats made it on time despite the Sunny getting bombed, and a really nice and low-key sequence of the crew interacting that I'm absolutely all for. Now this wasn't a chapter that necessarily needed much expansion to begin with, because I felt as though the original content was good enough, I think, at getting the point across. But the additions to everything took me by surprise and really made me love this content much more than I was planning on, making what should be a full-scale battle intense despite the confusion as to how everyone arrived there, and giving damn near everyone something to do so it truly feels like a team that will absolutely take on Kaido. It's just fun and the pacing doesn't thankfully drag at all like last week did, and the OST choices like using Over the Top as an insert song for the worst generation fighting is an extremely godly choice on every level. It just goes to show how much the anime can truly better the material at hand even when you might not think it's necessary, which definitely carries on over to the storyboard. From extremely colorful moments that harken back to anime of the 90s to pretty much everything else that this board has to offer, Kureta gets to show off and flaunt his skills as a storyboard artist here once again by harboring so many cool little ideas that pepper the episode with so much to love visually. With there being a metric fuck ton of really well executed and surprising zoom ins and zoom outs, as well as just ambitious camera tracking cuts in general that help sell the scale. And he even once again goes full on letterbox mode in the flashback to the Straw Hats chilling out that might lack some transitions that help seamlessly connect it to the present time, but it still works just as well as it did in 954 all the same. And I'd be absolutely insane if I didn't mention how insanely spacious and dynamic his action storyboarding is, feeling like it takes inspiration from the most modern of anime in the right type of ways, by making the beast pirate ships feel truly like a large battlefield which works in tandem with everyone's power to help them traverse it like with Luffy's rubber abilities. Sure, I'd say on the whole that I think 954 was a lot more consistently good, and will be a hard bar to clear for Kureta, I think, going forward. But this storyboard was nothing short of phenomenal in so many different categories, and is by far one of the most ambitious boards I've seen since Ishitani's episode earlier this year. Because even when visual cues like Big Mom and Kaido joining together interact with characters like Chopper, Usopp, and Carrot running away from them both, I can't get enough of the sheer creativity that Kureta has cooked up for us here. And that perfectly extends on over to the animators that took hold of the board this episode and wrapped it up in such an enormous way. On top of solid corrections from both Matsuda and Ito that are both absurdly on model, I was already expecting this episode to be pretty well animated. But what we ended up getting was something that not even I could have predicted, as this episode may just be one of Wano's most absolutely stacked offerings in not just a long while, but ever. Bringing us work from not only series regulars like Yoshikazu Tomita that feature his lively mech-like animation once more, or Masahiro Kitazaki holding down so much of the fort in his 5th episode in a row participating, but there's so many guests like you wouldn't believe here thanks to production assistant Hayato Tokita, who was allowed to go all out due to orders from production manager Tetsuji Akahori. What results is an incredibly animated episode on all fronts that does Kureta's board justice in more ways than one by using so many animators from the likes of Akiko Sugizono for subtle character acting, to people like Hon Hon and his smooth animation and Suit in his Kaneda-inspired style for the surrounding action on top of so many others, all trying their damnedest to bring justice to the board with their respective styles. But nothing, and I mean nothing, could have prepared me for what is by far one of the One Piece franchise's strongest scenes in the form of the worst generation combo fight that attracted animators like Kids Della Fruit Does Metal, with Tetsuro Nireki, Shu Sugita, Black Clover's Ista Meister, Takeshi Mainami, Hiromi Ishigami, non-credited Masami Mori, and utter effects god in the industry and effects supervisor for the One Piece films Takashi Hashimoto, bringing their absolute A-game and delivering a fucking incredible scene that emotionally got me in a way that a scene really hasn't since Watanabe's back in 870. And that's not to disservice anything that came before it, because this arc has been absolutely insane with consistently awesome scenes that get a reaction from me. But it got me worked up so much and reminded me of that first experience of watching Snake Man vs. Katakuri. It's almost like Bahi's scene from 914 turned up to a fucking 11. And I absolutely have to give a ginormous round of applause to everyone and anyone involved with this episode for really delivering on so many fronts. It's a really good feeling when you not only expect an episode to be good, but when you're greeted with something even better than your highest of expectations. And 978 definitely was that episode for me. Kureta, Ito, Matsuda, Tokita, and everybody on board worked so hard to bring an episode like this to us. And I can't express my gratitude enough for their insane dedication to the series. And when next week's Magic Bus and Kawanuri outsourced episode doesn't look too shabby either, looking fairly promising in a lot of areas thanks to former series director Toshinori Fukasawa's storyboard, it's looking like the raid on Onigashima is starting off with a real bang after the subtle whimper of Hosoda's episode, and I'm absolutely ready for the craziness that is about to ensue off the craziness that we already just witnessed. Anyways guys, that's it for now. I'm Skippy, and god I love this episode.